Hey, welcome to Two Guys Garage. Today it's all about budget builds, diving straight into an LS that's got some miles on it.
That's right, we got a 2000 C5 Corvette. Picked it up for cheap. But this thing is about ready to get exploded into a million pieces. Ever seen one of these things scattered across the room? Well, you're about to today, man. We're gonna dive deep. Stick around.
There you go, man.
All right, that side is unstrung.
You know what's crazy about this car, right? It's 15 years old. 15. This guy's LS1. It was sitting here at 345 horsepower, 350 foot-pounds of torque. And in 2000, you thought, whew, that's a bad machine.
Well, then they had the Z06 that came out at 400, and you're like, woohoo! That 400 bogey was huge in a stock car.
Yeah, and nowadays there's 6 cylinders that have mopped this guy up. But the good part about this guy is you can now get into these at an affordable price. Guys like me and Kevin, you can afford these, and they're pretty easy to hop up because the aftermarket is so supportive of the LS platforms.
Somebody over here knows what you can do to a C5. Tell them what you got rolling in yours, man.
I got a C5. It's got 125,000 miles on it. Puts down 883 at the rear tires on a stock bottom end. It's crazy.
Rear tires.
Yeah, rear tires. And this motor, we're going to attack this guy and get it out. But unlike a lot of motors where you attack this way, get it out, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah, you can't pull them from the top. I mean, you can try, and you can fight everything, strip the front half of the engine off. It's just a bear, man.
It is, man.
But honestly, the easiest way
is drop the whole cradle out. We've already taken some steps. I got the alternator off, got the steering knuckle undone. Underneath this tank, you can get through the shock tower, so you got to undo that because if you come down here, you'll see the control arm, right, which I got to break it in here at the ball joint, is already drooping on the shock. So I'll get the shock out of the way, take this ball joint off, let it go to full droop, and that helps us swing this entire cradle out.
Yeah, so stick around with us. We're going to separate this car in halves and quarters and fifths and eighths, so it's going to be pretty cool. So if you ever think about picking one up, a little bit of heads up of what you get to play with.
All right, now, when you tackle this job, control your temper, relax, calm down. This thing's gonna fight you a little bit. It's a bear, but you could use the shock, you could use the jack, sort of leverage points, and get that guy out because you wanna address that first. You gotta get the shock out of the way so when you pop this ball joint loose, this thing can go to full droop. So just brace yourself. A couple of noteworthy things. Undo the brake line. Here's the ABS sensor down here. It's gonna run along the frame. So just make sure you take the proper steps, disconnect this guy, get it out of the way. The brake line as well, you just wanna bag it up so you don't have any of those leaks. Kind of move it out of the way. You'll use a jack to hang the load on, and you'll actually use this guy to sort of compress that shock a little bit so you can wiggle and curse at it a little bit and get it out of there. Now that I broke the ball joint loose, just got one little bolt here left. Just take it the rest of the way off, and this thing will just come down full droop. We'll be able to drop this entire cradle free of the chassis of the car up here. Kevin's on the back of the car. You got the shifter out, automatic. Now, why somebody would buy an automatic for a Corvette, I just don't know. But Kevin, how you coming back there, bro?
Yeah, man, the manuals are a lot harder to find. Anybody out there buying a new Vet, buy the manual, because in 15 years, I'm gonna wanna buy it from you. But to make things easier, pop the center console off. You can see we're cleaned out on the inside. Got the shifter, the linkages disconnected, so that's kind of ready to go. Now, when Willie's huffing and puffing on the front side, I'm just sitting back in my little zen state. Half of this I did with my eyes closed. Now, we don't have to pop the brake line off, at least separate it from the caliper. Back here, I can just disconnect it from the body, and there's some unions up on top that will disconnect as we drop the cradle down. Now, I got this guy pretty much loose. So, same kind of procedure, but again, zen state, so we can work our way towards separation.
Now, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but Kev always has me under the car. Trial and error has told us that this support needs to be more towards the front of this cradle than back here where the motor mount is. So I think, Kev, we should be good to go this time. Go ahead and lower down a little bit and we'll see how it settles out.
Watch your head, coming down.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, now we think we've got all the connections separated. you might want to go around a couple times, make sure there's not a sensor wire or hose or anything like that that you're going to pop apart when you do, in Hollywood terms, a conscious separation or divorce.
Yeah, conscious uncoupling.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So a couple things like the ABS, one of the lines stays with the cradle, the other stay with the chassis of the car. So just make note and take pictures and so forth, log everything, because when you put it all back together, you want to know where everything goes, everything was routed and so forth.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much just 8 bolts, 4 in the front, 4 in the rear, holding the cradles in. So 8 bolts we have left. We're ready to drop it down.
Yeah.
All right, this is the moment of truth. So, a little bit at a time. Just gonna ease it up, check everything.
Hold on, buddy. All right.
All right, we're gonna keep going up with this thing. We're gonna take a break, so stick around.
This segment of Two Guys Garage is brought to you by Woodward Fab, quality metalworking equipment since 1966. And Seatbelt Solutions, the safest seatbelt money can buy.
Well, there you go, man. You don't see this very often.
Yeah.
This is the entire powertrain, suspension, all in one.
Yeah, man, it's really cool to see because you think about how you remove a motor or a transmission out of a normal car, rear end still in it, this entire drivetrain, suspension, and you see a transaxle back here, this is your rear end, half shafts, it's on an old monolith system, and then the torque tube, you got a steel shaft that rides in here on some bearings. So pretty cool to see the entire car, everything but the body, laid up underneath it.
All right, so we've just separated from the cradle in the front, so we got it supported nicely, motor mounts are loose, and we got to get it up high enough to clear the steering rack so we can pop the two apart, because you got that input shaft, it's got some depth to it. Now he's gonna cinch up the torque tube so it's supported on weight, and ideally, both of these hanging, we can just boop, pull them apart.
Ready?
All right. Oof. All right, I got you the zippy gun if you want.
Yep.
Now, let's see how easy this thing will separate after being together for so many miles.
All right, so we got pressure on it right where we need to, have a little bit of support under this torque tube, and I think all we got to do is pry just a little bit. Look at that. I don't even need that.
Oh, we got perfect balance. Is it coming loose?
Yeah, just a little kiss, and
How's it doing?
good.
All right. Now, to make sure you do, there's a couple of trans cooler lines, so disconnect those. There's also inside the torque converters in the back, but there's still a flex plate in the front, and it's got a little spline collar for the input shaft. Well, that's got a little clamp on it to hold it in place. So you're going to reach up through the bottom, loosen that clamp, and then that input shaft or output shaft, whichever way you're looking at it, can come free.
All right, buddy, I think we're good. There.
Yeah.
And one little.
Come up a little bit. All right. All right. Coolio. All right, well, now we got this thing pretty much disconnected. We can put it on the engine stand. We can kind of forget about all of that. Start stripping down this dirty beast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't want me to make you look bad if I just strip my half on and you're just standing over there with like 3 bolts loose,
Right,
you know?
right. Hustling, man. We're back at our LS1. Now understand. Wow, that thing's noisy. So we're back. We got the motor out of the Corvette. It's pretty cool to see, man. Right out of the gate, you see some of this technology like coil near plug, all performance-based. You have a composite intake. That's going to dissipate heat a lot easier than, say, that old aluminum intake you saw kind of on the old 350s.
Well, it's a lot lighter, especially that old cast iron stuff back in the day. Now, the LS engines, I mean, you guys have seen them around for quite a while now.
Yeah.
They started back to LS1, the Corvette, blew everybody away with the horsepower ratings, you know, but they never stopped. Just LS1, then the LS2 at 400, the LS3, the LS7, I mean, and all kind of combinations in between.
Right, and there's all kinds of performance upgrades. You'll find guys that snatch up these LS1s, like 2000, a 15-year-old plus motor, and do things like head swaps, intake swaps, to up that performance. So there's a whole line of performance stuff. Back in the old days when you go junkyard hunting to upgrade your performance, same platforms now exist with the LS.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because even though they started in series production and everything seemed the same, all these different applications, lots of variations, little things that don't quite mix and match just right. So make sure you do your homework. Now, we're going to tear this thing apart, but what we're looking for is kind of this rebuild. We want to see what's good, what's not good. So while you're disassembling, you can look for cracks, look for worn out things, clean it in the cleaning machine. So follow us. We're going to tear this thing down to nothing. Now this is a point where you really want to do some organization, because otherwise, you got a million parts, you're not sure which way they're going to go back together. So take some pictures, take some notes.
Always take notes on these guys, always take a lot of photos, so you kind of know how everything is routed, everything goes, and you could put it back. When assembly comes, you'll be thankful that you did. And look at this, on the Gen 3 motors, you see knock sensors right up here.
Yeah, and you can tell the cathedral ports. So this was kind of, big in the heyday back then, like, wow, look at the way they shaped them. But over the generations, they kind of made these more rectangular, a little more conventional, like you used to see back in the small block days.
Raised the floor of them, raised the ceiling a little bit, which we'll show you later on the rebuild. The great thing about these LS platforms is the LS1, LS2, LS6, all interchanging parts. So a lot of guys like that intake right there will take an LS6 intake, put something like a 243 head on there, and then bump up the performance. More compression, better runner design, and so forth. So we're going to get into the heads and really show you what this LS1 is all about.
When most people think about shocks or struts, all they really know is that it's sort of round and usually black or gray or something. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of technology. And it's developed a lot since the early days of shocks. So we've got some cutaways to show you exactly what's happening on the inside here. Now, most shocks and struts you see on a car today are twin tube. And you can see in here, there's actually an inner tube and an outer tube. And they both have fluid in them. And the outside tube has a combination of fluid. And what used to be air is now nitrogen. Now, I'm going to work this thing a little bit. And you can see I've got a piston acting on this inner tube, right? And on its rebound, so the upstroke, there's a whole set of valves in here that are controlling the fluid motion and the resistance, so that's your rebound control. But as I get above the outer fluid level, I'm not really in the air or the nitrogen. I'm still contained in that inner cylinder where the fluid is. Now when I push down, that's my compression, so I've got another set of valves in here controlling the fluid flow between these two to the outer cylinder up into this cavity. Now it's all about the technology and control of the valves, so I control not only the wheel motion, which is one mass and one frequency, but the vehicle motion and movement, which is another. So you can imagine the technology that's in there to be able to do that in all those different conditions. Well, to add another layer, there's a technology called stability control. It's crash avoidance. Well, all of that is dependent on this acting exactly the way the OE specified. So that's what KYB does exceptionally well, is they match the OE specifications for shocks and struts, so you have that control and the stability for great ride, but also good handling, but it allows a platform for your stability control to really help you for crash avoidance. So next time you need to do shocks and struts, check out KYB and talk to your Federated Auto Supplier to get you the right parts. Hey, really, man, don't be sweating on our clean engine over here.
Man. Dude, you could tell just by looking at this thing, really wasn't taken the best care of.
Well, it's got a lot of miles on it. I'm sure there was a lot of good times in it as well.
Yeah.
Now I got this whole rocker assembly loose. Now a good tip is pull it off all in one piece. So keep the fasteners in there. You want to make sure they're all free to go. And then take the whole rocker shaft assembly. I got one thread there. And pull it off together, and hopefully, there we go.
Nice.
Now set these aside, and you want to keep track of the numbering. So all the cylinders stay matched together. So rocker arm, shaft, push rod, tappet, obviously to the cam. And at least keep them that way if you're going to do a rebuild versus replacing a lot of those components.
Right.
Because they kind of got a matched wear pattern on them, right?
Yeah, and also on the heads, let me show you some cool part number swaps, right? So a lot of people think the old junkyard days of going and finding the 4-barrel intake or the double hump heads. They think
Dive
they're
in,
gone,
man.
right?
No, just dive in.
Yeah.
Swim around and grab stuff, right?
Well, they really exist nowadays because, for example, on this LS1, it came stock with some 853 heads. Not a bad combustion chamber, about 67 cc's. But a lot of guys nowadays will go down and hunt for a 243 casting or a 799 casting. A little smaller combustion chamber, about 64 cc's. Take an LS6 intake, a little better runner design, up the compression, up the performance, and you got a naturally aspirated bad boy out of
the cheap.
Yeah, on the cheap, not of LS1.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's a great
cool.
way to go hot rodding. Now that we got the whole rocker shaft assembly out, start to break these bolts loose. We can get to the inner bolts, start pulling the cylinder heads. And if you notice, he's doing this all by hand. You really don't want to take an impact on an engine, especially, ruin the threads. Definitely in the aluminum, because you can pull those guys apart. So just take a little patience, build up some sweat. It's okay. You burn some calories.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to head over here to the tank and start washing some of these parts. We got a new tank that's pretty cool. And, oh, cool, man. Looks like it's already clean. Willie, did you scrub on this thing?
No, bro, just do it in there.
It's cleaning itself. This is pretty cool. So this is kind of the modern cleaner, right? This is from Green Uniclean from iPax. Now this is a water-based cleaner and degreaser, so none of the heavy solvents, the fumes. This is what used at the OEs, right? So this is what they're cleaning all their products with, but now you can get access to it at home, in your shops, and they got a really great machine here. It's got a little warmer in it, obviously a pump. And Willie just apparently set this in here, and you can see where it's cleaned all on its own. But I'm gonna switch it over to the scrubber, because then I can kind of put it where I want it, scrub around a little bit, getting all the cracks and crevices. And what's cool also is it's not going to hurt your pets, your plants, cleaning the outside of your automobiles, motorcycles. And what I could probably do is just kind of give this thing a little coat, walk away, maybe come back and touch it up. But you can get it in different size containers too. So you can get it in small, large, depending on how much mess you make. And we make a lot of mess around here in the shop. So we're going to continue to tear this motor down, and I guess I'm going to be the parts cleaner guy here for a little while.
Tune-ups. Now, we talk a lot about tuning up your motor, getting it run efficient. When's the last time you adjust your fuel? Yeah, it needs a tune-up as well. In comes our friends from Starchon. Now, it's an enzyme treatment for your fuel. It's going to clean your injectors, clean your carburetors, and so forth. And another great thing is it actually stabilizes the fuel. I put one of these little 6-gallon treatments in my little Kawasaki at the beginning of the winter. Fired it up this last weekend, good to go, purrs like a kitten. So it stabilizes the fuel. It tunes your fuel up, more combustibility, more power. It's from Starchon, it's the enzyme fuel treatment. All right, guys, let's talk fuses and the evolution of fuses. From little fuse, they set us up, man. Here's an old school glass tube fuse. Here's a standard size fuse. Now, this little guy here is called a mini. And then from little fuse, this little tiny guy is called the Micro 2. They also have some 2-circuit fuses called the Micro 3. Now, because manufacturers are always hunting for room, you look under the motor, you look in the engine compartment, it's like a crowded dorm room. They're always hunting for space. Fuses have gotten a lot smaller, but they do a big job. They prevent electrical fires from overloading, short circuits, and so forth. So when you think fuses, you got to go with what the OE guys. 70% of foreign cars, and they're an OE supplier to Ford, GM, Chrysler, Dodge, you name it, Little Fuse carries it. Check them out at Federated Auto Parts.
The last time you saw this project, we were preparing it for body filler. Now we continue to the repair step. First, we're going to remove as much of the damage as possible with metal working tools. Returning the metal back to its original contour allows us to use less body filler. In order to fill this deeper damaged area, we're going to use Bondo glass, which contains strands of fiberglass to make it stronger. When mixing Bondo glass, use 2% of hardener to filler. Think of it as a golf ball size amount of filler to 1 inch of hardener. You'll have about 3 to 4 minutes to use the product and 15 to 20 before you can sand. We're using 80 grit sandpaper with a clean sand system to level the area and reduce dust. This tip is brought to you by 3M Auto. Smarter solutions through science.
This is one of our favorite shop secrets from Workshop Hero. It's the Metal Rescue Rust Remover Bath. Now, why we like it is because it takes no energy. You just pour the liquid in. It's water-based, non-toxic, good on your skin, good on the components, but it's tough on rust. Let it soak, does its own thing, and you can see the different metals, and even inside we've got rubber here, and it only attacked the rust that was sitting on the surface there, none of the components themselves. So let it soak till it's nice and clean. Once it's done, you can hit it with a little bit of dry coat, mist it on there, it'll dry. You can sit your parts on the shelf for up to a year, and they'll stay nice, clean, and ready to rock. Check out these awesome safety goggles from SAS. Now, goggles, safety glasses, and goggles all in one. So in this mode, right, you've got this sort of surround here, which is going to keep all the dirt and debris from bouncing around inside your glasses and getting in your eye. You've got soft padding, you've got venting. Great way to have a goggle, but let's say you don't want all of that. You can snap the outside frame off, just like this. Boom, and the next thing you know, you've got safety glasses, cool sunglasses. They're fully adjustable, they're great for riding motorcycles, apparently swimming, at least through some debris. And it's cool, you can adjust the arms, you can change the length, and you can even put on sort of the bungee cord, so if you want to jump out of an airplane, these things are going to stick to your face. Really cool, you can ride your motorcycle right to the job site, get to work. Check them out at SAS Safety Corp.
For more information about anything you've seen in today's show, check out mavtv.com or visit our website at TwoGuysGarage.com.
Bearing looks pretty good, man.
No.
No scores
You
in
can
it?
almost rerun those.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. All right, welcome back. We're on the belly of our LS1. Check it out, some of the rod bearings. Like we said, it looks pretty good. A lot of people will tell you on forums and so forth, the real Achilles heel of this motor were these guys right here, the rod bolts. So if you're going to go to a performance style upgrade, you definitely want to take a look at these rod bolts, replace them with some studs or something along that line to improve the strength.
Yeah, with as many miles this thing has on it, bearings look good so far. We obviously got to get deeper in it. It's burning a lot of oil, so we probably have stuck rings, maybe a broken land. So we're going to work our way through, eventually strip this thing down to the block, get it in the tank, get everything inspected really good, then decide how we want to build it, which is going to be in the future episodes.
You know us, and that means performance, horsepower, and burnout. So stick around, you're going to see this guy again.
Yeah, we'll see you on the next show.